Today we are scheduled to discuss abstract writing. So we'll talk about the types of abstract, first of all, disciplinary differences, and the effectiveness or the kinds of features we expect in an abstract. Then we'll also look at a few examples of various abstracts, and we'll try to find out the flaws and the good things in those abstracts. What is missing in that abstract when you read. So we'll talk about those parts. And finally, I would like to see your abstract. It's the smallest part of a research paper, I hope you already know. Usually it is expected to be 150 to 300 words. So it's, in short, if anyone asks you or if you have to respond to what is an abstract, it's actually a summary of your whole paper. Yet this definition is not complete in its in an academic way. So there are exact stylistics that we expect in an abstract. So if it's whether it's 150 to 300, whether it's 8 to 10 sentences, let's say. So what are the brick structure? First two sentences should talk about what? The next two sentences, what we expect in an abstract. So that's what we'll discuss. First, let's have a look at the differences of various disciplines in the beginning. So if it's a scientific study or research paper, today I was playing with this stick, so I discovered something good here. For instance, it's interesting, right? I didn't know that. So instead of lizard, they initiated this, and I was playing around and found it.
Is the one that comes with the computers?
Yeah. Otherwise, that should be the technology. Yeah. It's interesting, right? It's cool. Yeah. So when I found I was playing around, it's funny. So in the scientific, we mostly see methodology, because it might be explaining the methods, the way the research is conducted in most scientific study. So this is the methodology part that could occupy larger portion of the abstract, that's what I'm saying. Or findings. The other part, you don't have to, it's not necessary. So I only kept these parts in bold, which is mostly expected. Methodology and finding in scientific study. Or if it's argumentative, or let's say humanities, we follow certainly an equal structure of IMRD. So this is the point. IMRD is two sentences of, what do I write here? So IMRD, so it's introduction, method, results, and discussion. These are the sections of your paper, right? That we already discussed in our earlier classes. So two sentence, two sentence, two sentence, two sentence. Two sentence from introduction, two sentence from methodology, two sentence from results, and two from discussion. Now, cautious, a very significant warning is, you cannot pick two sentence. You have to generate two sentence. Because one of the very significant feature of abstract is, we cannot pick. It has to be, otherwise it will not have a complete good flow. If you pick any two sentences from introduction, from method, or from results, you'll certainly will not have a good flow. So that's a very important point. It will have a chronology with the paper. The way you discover the whole journey in the paper, your abstract, those 8 to 10 sentences, will have the same chronology. It will mention the background, it will talk about the method, it will talk about the finding or results, it will argue how the research objective was accomplished. So that chronology will be equally maintained. It's definitely concise, the audience is wider for abstract. When you're sending abstract to proposal, as a proposal, or even in conferences, you're not expecting the person who's reading it is an expert in your field. Might be from your discipline, not necessarily is an expert in that particular field you're working in. So abstract is usually for a wider audience. So this is a very important point when we write. that we do not use that much terminology which will be incomprehensible to any professor who will be the editor or in the committee. We don't give new information. All the information and claims will be inside the paper. Nothing new will be in the abstract. Whatever is in the paper, abstract is like a trailer of that film. If your paper is the cinema, abstract is the teaser or trailer. Got it? We mostly answer what is in the paper, why we are doing it, and how we are doing it. That's the basic response, that's the basic definition. An abstract has these three basic components. When any general person will read it, will get to know what you're doing, and why you're doing, and how you're doing it. The basic word limit is this, but always follow up the call for submission. It is always mentioned, the word limit, and that we have to maintain. Sometimes it could be, some journal could ask for more than 300 in any case. Sometimes they're strictly restricted that do not go above 200, so it varies. You have to follow up the call for submission notice when you're submitting. Another point that I didn't talk about is about proposal. When we write proposal, we do not follow the IMRD structure because I do not know my results yet. Because I'm proposing. The proposal could be for a research, could be for a funding. Let's say in summer when people ask for funding at Notre here in various funding schools and institutions for the summer research where they go abroad or internationally anywhere else. So we do not talk in that case the results because we do not know that. We only talk about in that case methodology, what I'm going to do, and the planning. We talk about expectations and hypothesis. So why we are doing it, that hypothesis will come up. Why this method you want to do it, what you want to achieve. But we do not have the results yet when we write a proposal abstract. So there's a subtle difference, which is actually a significant difference, when we talk about proposal and a paper. Oh, good? So when you're writing proposal, definitely don't talk about the results as if you have already done the research paper. Because you're asking for a funding, right? When you get the funding, you'll do the research. It should not look like you already did it. Then the funding will be invalid. Because then it don't fund you, you already did it. So that makes a huge difference. So let's see the first point, how we talk about the map in an abstract. Map is MAP. So the first point is, what is the main point? Message. That is M. After reading your abstract, can I get the message clearly or not? So today when you'll be reading abstracts, you'll ask yourselves or your group mates, the map is there or not. First map as in M4. The message is clear, what the author is trying to say. If not, mention it. If yes, okay, cool. Then audience. What's the target audience? Who are the readers? That's the second point. And the purpose. So the purpose is it clear? The research is proposing something or is it summarizing something? It should be clear in the abstract whether it's a proposal or it's a done research. As I just said a while ago, for a research paper, the abstract language, and for a proposal, the abstract language should be very crystal clear that you are proposing it or no, I'm summarizing it, I already did my results. Gotcha? After map, we do drafting. So when we do drafting, as I said, don't copy-paste, never do it. Copy-paste from your own writing, I mean. Do not copy-paste certain phrases, keywords. We often do it, honestly. Because when you write an introduction, let's say your introduction is already written, your literature review is already written. So it's subconsciously or consciously, you will copy-paste. Because it's your own writing. You don't feel like it's not ethical to copy-paste, but that will ruin the flow because it's difficult to rewrite unless you are an editor by yourself. Unless you are an experienced editor, rewriting is difficult. Writing is easy. But already something is written and then restructuring and breaking it again, it's not an easy task. It requires a different level of experience and professional experience. So that's why I always suggest students, it's better we write from the scratch. If you're writing an abstract, those 2 sentences, write from the scratch rather than copy-paste. Because if you take 2 sentences from each chapter, when you read it, you will feel incoherent. It will not be full of flow and it will not be coherent at all. That's normal. But when you write it, it is supposed to be, as you know now how to maintain flow, so naturally there will be a certain level of coherence. Okay? That's the main point I always talk about. The rest of the things you already know, that you have to summarize it. Usually 2 sentences, I'm not restricting it that it must be 2 sentences from each section like IMRD. So 2 from intro. It could be sometimes, the method could go for 3 sentences. It's okay. Okay, so it's not like it's limited. I reached 2, I cannot write 3. It's not like that. If you think your results section deserves 3 sentences, it's fine. It's just a basic idea of IMRD that we write at least 2 sentences from each, but it can be 3. And if it's 4, then you might cross the word limit. So that's the point. So make a proper balance in case you have to focus more on the results than balance on the other. Don't talk about the background much in that case. So that's how make a proper balance. So it's not a rigid rule that there should be 2 sentences from each section. You can break it according to the convenience and based on the topic. Reflect on it, that you properly maintain the IMRD structure or not. So we'll see a few examples today. I have few examples of abstract, 5-6 examples, which are not perfect abstract at all. So we will talk about the logical structure, the flow. What do you think about the map? Map as a message, audience, and purpose. Did they follow IMRD or not? So reflect on it. And while reflecting, when you're in this stage of reflection, give it to someone. So when you write, today we'll also, if we get time, we'll do this. If you write your own abstract, share with your mate, the group mate, and then get his or her feedback. We have EAP session. Book a slot and share your abstract with us. I can give you feedback. Not only this semester, my center CSLC offers EAP sessions all throughout the year. Even if you're writing your abstract in the next semester, or if you have a conference, you're writing a paper, do that in the next semester. But always take reflective feedback. When someone else will give a reading, we'll have a third-person opinion. Okay? And finally, you'll drop out the unnecessary words, the verbose or wordiness, get rid of them, correct the grammar, properly check it out, whether the flow is maintained or not. So are you writing from a general to specific order or not? Usually abstract is a G to S order, which is reverse pyramid. Because whenever you start with the introduction, that means it becomes, this is the structure it becomes. The flow will be like this. And gradually it will reach to one single claimant point. Okay, so that's the structure. Now, let's read together an example that a good example that I found out and I thought sharing the slide. The first 2 sentences, so how it talks about the background or introduction. Someone would like to read the first one? Go, Jeff.
Self-citations, where authors cite their own works, account for a significant portion of all citations. These self-citations may result from the cumulative nature of individual research, the need for personal gratification, or the value of self-citation as a rhetorical and tactical tool in the struggle for visibility and scientific authority.
Thank you. So what we got here, have a look. In the first sentence, we get a definition. Self-citation is something where authors cite their own previous works. People do not only cite other authors, but also cite their own papers. And which is not illegal, which is actually citation. If you're citing it, then it's fine, right? But so it has a consequence. So what would be the result of these kind of things? It's an extended definition. If you remember, we did it in the earlier classes. We also did, there are 4 kinds of definitions when we extend it. It is one of those, when the definition is extended. And this self-citation could result in all of these things. So the first sentence gives you an introductory background, what is self-citation, and the effect of it. right? We don't know yet about the paper. The next two sentences, that's method. Someone else would like to read out loud sentence 3 and 4? Anyone can volunteer. No one is interested. Small group, yeah.
This article examines the incentive step underlying citation by studying how authors' references to their own works affect citations they receive from others. This paper also reports the results of the micro-study of more than 500,000 citations to articles by Norwegian scientists that appeared in the Science Citation Index.
Nice. So it's talking about how they analyze the data, from where they got the data. So that's the kind of method they applied here. Okay, and this is the language. This article examines, this paper reports, from which study, that's the language. The next two sentences, when we see results, so we can see this language. I'll read it out loud. It is also shown that the more one cites oneself, the more is cited by other scholars. Sentence 6. Controlling for numerous sources of variation in a cumulative citation from others, our model suggests that, since the result, we could see the result is mentioned with this kind of languages, our model suggests that it is also shown in the paper. That means it is shown. So you got the result. So the research is done. That's how the structure is there. Make sense? The discussion, sentence 7 and 8. Someone else would like to read it out loud? Anyone interested? Who would like to read? 3 left who didn't read. Anyone can choose. Please go ahead.
While there is no significant penalty for the most frequent self-citers, the effect of self-citation remains positive even for very high rates of self-citation. These results carry important policy implications for the use of citations to evaluate performance and distribute resources in science. They represent new information on the role and the impact of self-citations in scientific communication.
So here in these two sentences with these keywords, we understood it's talking about the effect and the implication. One of the 5 moves we learned in the discussion last class, right? Sometimes we might see limitation if that is very important in any paper. Here it's not. Here implication is very important. That's why the writer brought implication. You cannot bring all the 5 moves of the discussion section in the abstract. So whatever is significant and important, that move you can bring here. Make sense? Even in the method section, we learned there are 7 moves, but we do not use all the 7 moves. Data analysis and procedure. So we can bring 1 or 2, whatever is important. Make sense? If the subjects are important, materials are important, let's say you were analyzing a particular school, Notre Dame, 20,000 students, your subjects, you mention that in the abstract. Sometimes, if that is very important to mention. Here, the topic is different. So we didn't see it here. Make sense? So there are moves in the results section, right? Highlighting statement, as we learned, and summary statement. Mostly with method and discussion, we have so many moves that we have to pick which one we will include in the abstract. Okay? Because the discussion section has 5 moves, and we only see in the abstract the implication of self-citation is mentioned. All good? Now let's see some good, the bad, and ugly abstracts in not here. Click in Canvas. Let's go to Canvas. Let me bring that out. In Canvas, you'll see a worksheet. So we have 6 abstracts here, and you'll write your own criticism. There's a portion at the bottom of each abstract called critique. Oh, it's not working in doc file. In slide it works. Pretty weird. Anyway, let's experiment it the first time. So if you go to that doc page, do it together. Let's say we have less students today. So form a group like you three can do together, and Jeff could, or you could join Jeff, or Jeff could join you. So it's a pretty simple observation. You give your own opinion. Which abstract you think are good, which one you think are the worst, or whatever point you want to make. And after this, what we will do, we will write our own abstract and we'll do the same. I mean, the group will criticize each other's abstract in writing. So when you write your own abstract with your name, like this, and at the bottom of your abstract, your group mate will write a critical appreciation that you could change this or add the method section, or I think the discussion move, this move, not that move would be better, or this is missing, that is missing, not clear, whatever, okay? But we'll do this first, we'll discuss this first, and then we'll go into writing our own abstract. And you can talk about anything, not about only IMRD format. You can talk about grammar also if you think it's mistaken anywhere. If you think it needs hedging, it's not there, you can talk about it. It's not academic, you can talk about it. Anything that you find non-academic, in short, point it out. Or flow.
Yes, combine a lot of features to show this.
Maybe this part is also calculated.
Yes. So that will points. And for rounding out a little bit, the cells are used. These cells is technically the cells is control.
That is the case, I think it's okay.
Because this is abstract. But this is using the future tense. Okay, this is abstract. So
It's what I think he said.
ah, oh,
We can also have abstract for our future research. As a proposal.
Yeah, you can write an abstract.
For example, these techniques.
You need to say future tense you can use or not? Yes, you can. If it's a proposal. Yes. Because you haven't applied, so you cannot say.
but if still his research is done, then he has the outcome of the result of his research.
Then it could be a false. So here, I forgot the one. Which one are you talking about? I can read it now. Huh? The second one. Okay. But if you have done the research, then you cannot use active future tense. So that's the basic difference. If it's a proposal, yes. You guys started writing in the document and discuss what you do. You share your critical points. The second one here doesn't seem to me an appropriate one for future tense. It seems it's done, except the last sentence. The last sentence talks about future. It's kind of a future recommendation, not talking about the research paper. So the last sentence is where will seems justified. You know what I mean? This will allow for more individual. This will give more opportunity to future researchers. So this kind of sentence we can write in future tense. Other than that, it looks like a done research already. And write your name when you are writing a critique so that I understand who's writing it. If you are writing something anywhere, just mention your name. For instance, I did one. before writing, discuss. Don't discuss after writing. Okay? Group work means write together. You don't have to write alone. Then there will be new perspectives. Okay, they come from the others. Overall, we'll try to look at the message, audience, and the purpose is clear or not, and it has an IMRD structure or not. If something is too long, then we'll talk about if it's justified or not. Let's say the method is too long. Discussion is not there at all, so we'll mention that, why it's that, it's correct or not. So let me write it here. Message, audience, purpose, and structure-wise IMRD. That's what we're looking for. And beyond that, you can talk about tense, you can talk about flow, but these are the basic necessities in an abstract. Do you guys know that this is a very famous American film's title? I saw it when I was a child. The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. It's a very typical American. Let me show you the poster, just for fun's sake. Yes, it's the poster looks like. Yes, it's cowboy film, so it's in Texas usually, which is. Where's the image? And those typical American cinemas used to have this kind of a look. Cowboy hat, pistols here, and they used to have combats like that. So this is a very famous title, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. Just saying. Now we'll find The Good, the Bad, the Ugly abstracts. I commented on the first 4 so far. You can also read comments. We're done discussing the 6? Almost. Let's take 1 more minute and then come back again. Done? Nice. Any questions? Let's start with questions and then we'll get back to one by one if needed. Any question that or any confusion while reading this 6? Or after reading my comments on 10? And the comments that you all wrote make sense. I agree with all. Just one thing, the things that I highlighted, for instance, here. Yes, we use past tense in the method section, but it seems like the total section is the same like method. It didn't seem like an abstract. Without an introduction, it starts with the past tense. So it starts with the method. which is very unusual in abstract. Any question? No questions from my comments, from any particular thing you think that I like this one, but yet I may have written some critical observations, but you liked it. Is there anything like that? Could be, that's okay. Yeah, Jeff, right? Which one?
I don't remember which one, but it's number 3.
Number 3?
It says this research will provide valuable information.
Yes.
So I think it's like addressing future research.
Which sentence?
Last one.
The last sentence?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So is it necessary to highlight or to write future research?
Okay, so let's highlight it and talk about it. Let me give you a little reading. This hypothesis is based on this early successional, successional trees. Okay, gotcha. We assessed levels and all that. This research will provide valuable information regarding. Okay, so now the point is when we talk about D, which has 5 moves, and you can choose your move. And in the D section, if you remember, we have limitation or implication or future recommendation as well. So it's not wrong if you bring future recommendation in your paper, in your abstract, under this discussion section. So you can do that. Yeah. Also, there was another that was not a good abstract, but it also brought this one, for instance. If you look into the second one, this will allow something for direct future research. So you can end sometimes with feature recommendation in abstract because feature recommendation is part of this discussion section among the 5 moves. Make sense? And also I just inside the text I edited the language or tense. I won't prefer using personal narrative, so I prefer home videos are used to validate or home visits where several assessments are exercised rather than saying this paper attempts to eliminate. That's a better language. What else? Here the finding is too broad. I mean, you all agreed with that, so it's, yeah. This has lots of things. I mean, it's mostly the students' thoughts are the basic methodology section. So it's totally based on that. That's seemed negative to me. And what framework, that's not clear, so the message is a little, and certainly I agree with your points as well. It's good to explain what capstone design is, we don't know that. Anything else? Any question? Have you all read my comments? If you have any confusion, if you do not agree, feel free to speak up, we can discuss. And if you don't have any question, let's start writing our own abstract. And we will not repeat the mistakes we saw in this kind of samples. Yeah? And let's try to be precise, like let's not make it longer. Write 8 sentences maximum and try to cover up the IMRD structure. All good? In case you do not have your result, because I'm expecting you did not, many of you might not conducted the research, you can write your hypothesis. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but I have a question about the
Sure, which one?
You mentioned the paragraph number 3.
Paper number, sample number 3?
Yes.
Yes.
You mentioned that the audience is limited.
Yes.
Could you explain about it? Because every paragraph I'm reading, I suppose that the audience is a quite professional and scholars.
Okay, gotcha point. So I exactly forgot the module number, but I'll find it out in our Canvas where we talked about using definition, how we mention definition. We can, definitely every paper, every abstract is technical and limited to certain number of audience. But when you start with a term which is not about the definition, it starts with the term. It starts with something new. It's not old to new format. The sentence format is not old to new. So then you are actually limiting, very much limiting your own audience, even in your field. Make sense now what I'm saying? So the format is old to new structure that we always did. We use new terms in the end of the sentence, not in the beginning of the sentence as a subject. We do not introduce terms in the subject. We did a lot of old to new formation flow in our classes. So that will make it the same thing. If I edit, it can be made comprehensible for a bigger audience. The same thing. Just by shifting phrases and structures, sentence structures. And that's what even I do when I read all of your papers. I do not belong to those disciplines. So I'll not introduce new things. I'll not simplify it. I'll rewrite in a way which will make it comprehensible for a wider audience. Make sense now? That's what I meant, yeah. Definitely we do not want the writer to explain to me, who might be an illiterate about this topic. You don't have to explain it to me what this means, but you can write in a way so that even the scientific discipline, let's say it's a scientific paper, will maintain a good flow. Gotcha? Yeah. Any more questions? No? No questions? We can start writing our own paper. No, I mean abstract, not paper. Mm-hmm. You can write it here today in the same paper because others have to comment. Yeah. I mean, today, if you don't get time, that's fine to comment, but at least submit it today here in the same section. Is it okay? In the same document. In the end, just write your name and write your abstract. So that would be my sample number 7 for the next class, next 4 students, if you're okay with that. I'll delete your name, don't worry, if you are not comfortable with that. But samples are good for the future students also, you know what I mean? You have a question?
About the first sentence of the abstract, you said it should be the purpose, right? The purpose we need to say what we want to understand, what we want to know in this paper, or just a short summary of the background, like the keywords.
Yeah, the background. Yes, the first sentence should be the background.
Yeah.
What it is about. Yeah. We'll get to know the what first.
It's planning the vertical, just very short to summarize.
Yeah, and purpose can be anywhere, not necessarily in the beginning. The purpose of the paper can be anywhere in the whole abstract. It can be in the end also. You can place it anywhere, but the first sentence should describe what the paper is about. The background.
Then is the method, then is the measurement, and then is the conclusion and the prediction.
Which one?
The structure.
The structure is usually this, your paper structure. So we'll keep the same alignment like we maintain the paper. The way the paper moves on. The paper has the introduction in the first. And then we have the method section, then the results.
We want you to cover all the findings, we just cover the main findings.
Yes. Yeah, for instance, in your section or in your paper, I mean in your discipline or in her discipline as well, possibly the results is, you cannot write about the results right now, right? So you'll mostly talk about the methodology. I mean,
So I can write the methodologies and what I hypothesis about.
yes, definitely. Hypothesis is mandatory if you haven't conducted it yet. So it's proposal in that space.
So you would like to propose.
That would be a proposal. That would look like a proposal because abstract we write in the end. once the paper and research is conducted. But we write at the beginning if it's a proposal. Then we write in a different language like hypothesis convention.
So we do not need to say anything about the future direction because we do not have any.
No, yes, until the result is done. Yeah. Sure. Thank you. And even if it's today a little shorter, like 6 sentences, I would say just go through it. Let's pen down something. Not necessarily it must be 8 to 8 sentences. If it's a little less than that, it's okay.
Could I ask the question?
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to provide the keywords?
Not now.
No.
But usually when you write abstract, it is required you write keywords separately. Yeah.
No.
Not now. I also shared a few links and videos at the end of the slide, in today's slide in Canvas, in case you want to know more, explore more samples, want to hear more lectures, there are reference links.